Hello everybody and welcome to the video. I know it's been a while since the last video and I apologize. Thank you so much for your patience. As you can see, I am in the van. I've been in the van just over a week, and the last few weeks of building it out, we just went full on. And when the time I got to the van, I was just exhausted, and it's taking me a week to recover. But yesterday I felt really good, and today I feel excellent. So my energy is back, my enthusiasm is back. I started painting last night. I haven't painted for about 4 weeks. So I'm really feeling like myself again and getting used to being in the van. Now this video is to catch you up on how I finished the build. Now it's not 100% finished. I am going back into the city to get a hatch with a small fan installed this week, and then I still need to finish off some trim and things, but I'm waiting to get that done. But let me catch you up. I made copious amounts of notes and took a lot of video clips to show you all the different stages. So here we go. Right, so where I left you on the last video, I believe, I don't even know where I left you. I'll just pick up where we started from. So after the last video, we had about 5 days of cool days, like only around the high 20 degrees Celsius, and we got all the wood done. We worked really hard. Thank you, Faye was wonderful. And just so everyone knows, Faye is actually 74 years old. So I'm 60, Faye's 74. And she is a trooper, and that woman is strong, and we just powered through, and it was fantastic. So much easier having help this time. So what we did was after that last video, we got the foil board on the wall. So what's behind here, so we got the foil board on. Now some people have had some questions about the foil board and what it is, and I meant to keep a piece to show you, but basically what it is, it's very thick styrofoam, so it is insulation. It's very thick styrofoam with foil on both sides, and they use it here in houses, in the walls and things like that. And it comes in different thicknesses. So I think it comes in 10, 15, 20 and 25. So on the walls I put 15 millimeter, which is 1.5 centimeters, probably about half an inch, almost half an inch, on the walls. So that's what we did there. And then we put the foil wrap, it's a thermal liner on the walls. So we taped all that in, and there's still some tape showing on the ends I've got to trim off. The next thing I wanted to do before I had the floor, I wanted to get the wood templates, the wood done for the floor, because it's much easier to do it than when I've got all the insulation and everything in. So luckily I had kept the old flooring that was in the van, and I could use that as a template, but then I also had to make a bit more, it didn't go all the way to the edge, and so I had to make a bit more of a template for the wheel arches. Now I really meant to show you what the template looks like, but I'd already thrown it in the bin, but I did dig out half of it. So here you can get the idea, is I just use cardboard, and I make a piece of cardboard to fit perfectly around the wheel arch, and then you just trace that onto the piece of wood and cut the wood. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm really sorry I didn't keep the templates, but I use templates for lots of little areas, and then you just trace it on the wood. I got that idea from someone on YouTube when I did the first van. So we did the floor, and the floor is 3 pieces. I did downsize this time to 12 millimeter marine ply. The last one had 18 millimeter marine ply. So this one, 12 millimeter, I think it's about half an inch if you're in northern US, and it's in 3 pieces. So one is the full piece that you get, and then I have a little piece at the back, and again another bit down the side where I'm sitting, which is under the bed. Exactly the same as I did last time. The next thing I wanted to do was to try out the fridge and the water jug so I could cut out the step. So I don't use the full step that they have. I want to get as much floor space as possible. So I put those in and worked out where to cut the step. I also need room beside the water jug. That's where Abby's water bowl sits. When we're in the van and it's all closed up, that's where her water sits. So after that, we were able to cut the step out where I wanted it. I did make this one a little bit narrower because, as some of you may know from previous videos, I lost some space. This van is not as long as the other one. And I forgot to tell you, if you're new here, my name is Brenna, and I've been living in my self-converted Toyota Hiace Camper van for the last 4 years, and that one was just recently written off. I live with my dog, and now we have just finished fitting out our new van. I forgot to tell you that, sorry. Okay, once we had the wood cut for the floor, I could get to doing the battens and the insulation. So I used the 12mm marine ply as battens this time because I had the wood. Last time I didn't, and I ended up with a lot of marine ply left over. So this time I used the battens and it was almost perfect. So I did 10cm battens, I think. No. My notes say I did 6cm. I did 6cm battens. So a batten is just a piece of wood that I'm putting down so that I can then attach the floor to that. So those battens are liquid nails to the metal because the metal is only a single layer on the bottom. I cannot screw into it without it going through. So I liquid nails, like the real heavy duty stuff, and I did that on the last floor and it didn't, it's not going to move, it's not moving. So I liquid nailed the battens to the floor and I run them horizontally kind of across the van like that. And then I fill it in with the foil board again, and I think the floor was 10mm foil board. So I fill that in, and then so we also taped the edges. So we taped the edges of the foil board with the foil tape, and then we laid down the thermal liner. And once again, my assistant was like sleeping on the job, laying around on the job. She wasn't actually. It was very windy. You know, it was cool. It was so windy, and we're trying to work in the van, and it was just blowing it everywhere. So Faye decided to lay on it to stop it blowing away. So yeah, but she does like to lay down a lot. There was a bit of an incident, but I'll keep that secret between me and Faye. So I used the foil wrap, the thermal liner on the wheel arches. I did that in the last one, but this time I put 2 layers. So what I learnt from my last van was the odd occasion when I'm in have a very cold night, the only place I get condensation on my bed is where the wheel arch is, because I only had 1 layer of insulation. That's the only place it's really coming through cold. And the other side has a cover over it, so it doesn't really matter. So this time I put 2 layers on to hopefully stop the cold coming through and getting the condensation under the bed. And I know there's lots of things you can do for that, for the condensation under the bed, but honestly, it's only over 1 or 2 nights in a year, people, so I'm not going to make huge changes for 1 or 2 nights in a year. Once we had the thermal liner down on the floor, Faye and I were laughing so hard because my van now looks like a padded cell. Abby? Abby? Come here. In your bed. In your bed. Lay down. Thank you. Thank you. I had to check for Abby. So the van looked like a padded cell and we were just laughing. It was really quite funny. It really did. It was just all silver and shiny. It was quite funny. Now I wanted to make a note. When you put the battens on the floor and before you put the thermal liner on, you need to mark where your battens are so you know where to screw the floor into. So I just got my Sharpie marker and marked up on the walls where the battens were so I knew where to screw to. So don't forget to do that or you're going to have a hard time finding them once you've got all that stuff on there. The next step was very easy. You just put the wood floor on and you screw it in. It's actually really easy. And now we're up to the screwing in stage, which, my goodness, there's so much to screw in, and my right arm has got really strong from all the screwing I had to do. My left arm is falling behind. Next was to put the ceiling wood up. So we did the floor first, then we were going to put the ceiling up and then the walls, because I wanted to see where this was coming up to. So the ceiling is quite challenging because you have to hold it up while you're screwing it in. So first of all, I have lots of tricks for putting the ceiling up. The ceiling is screwed into the existing metal struts. I mentioned that in the last video. So what we did was we got a couple of Faye's mops and we propped the ceiling up with that. I've seen like plasterers have special things they do that when they're plastering and stuff. So we used the mops. It worked so well, and we had 2 mops and we didn't even have to hold it. So that's a good trick. The second thing is to know where the battens were to screw into. So what I did was I got some string, and before I put the wood up, before I put the foil on, the thermal liner, I'll get my words right. Before I put the thermal liner on, I ran some string where the battens were and where I wanted to screw into. So I had string going both ways, so I would have a point. And I marked on the van where the string was running. Then you let the string drop, then you put the thermal liner on, then you put the wood on, then you pick the string back up and line up with your lines, and then I knew exactly where to drill into. I wasn't able to use all the holes from last time. This is the ceiling that was in my last van. And I have to tell you, when the ceiling went up and I looked up and saw it, I almost cried, because I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm in my van again. It was really a really emotional moment for me. I am planning on plugging all these holes with some wood filler. I've got a lot of holes because I reused the ceiling and the walls. It was so good. But yeah, so that's my trick to put the ceiling up, and it went really well. I had to cut out, do templates to cut out for the lights, and I'm going to make some nice trim around here. I couldn't get these lights off to get it fit underneath, but I'll put some trim around here. But yeah, so that's how to do the ceiling. The ceiling is probably the most challenging thing you're going to do, because like I said, it is up, and yeah, holding it up, screwing up, it's all hard. Next came the walls. So for the walls, I used a 7mm plywood for the battens. Now on the first van, I made the battens very narrow, and then I had to try and find them to screw into. But I watched another video. I thought I'll just tell you what people are doing. It's been 4 years since I built my van out, and I watched this guy, and I think he's in Australia, and he used really wide battens. I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. It's so much easier to find it, and it just gives me more room in general to screw things into. So I did 10cm battens, and the battens are screwed into the metal where the metal is double ply kind of thing. So there's a gap in between the outside and the inside, and they're screwed into there. I also ran one up the middle, so you can see I don't actually have anything to screw it to on the top, but I screwed it on the bottom and the middle, and it runs up here. And the walls, I feel, are much more secure. Before they bent a lot. They were more flexible. It's only 3mm plywood on the walls, and they're definitely much more secure. So I highly recommend the 10mm battens. Just in general, it gives me more room to screw things into, to screw furniture into, anything I want to hang. I've got more room. So that's one of the battens there. You can see it's really big. Once you have the battens up, I highly recommend you take some photographs of where they are for future reference. So even just for putting the walls up, or in the future when you want to secure something, you will know where the battens were. You can have a look. So the next step is to screw the walls into the battens, and like I said, I was able to reuse the walls I took out of the old van. This one I had to make a slight adjustment on the wheel arch. We're talking like centimeters on the wheel arch, and a little bit of trim around the front, and it fit, and then the back piece fit perfectly. And then on the other wall, I actually had to fit it on the wheel arch. We actually just had to flip it around the other side. So I have the bit that used to be against the van now outside, and then it fit perfectly on the wheel arch at the back. I just had to cut a bit off of the front, to make it fit, because again, the van's a bit shorter. So it was excellent reusing the stuff, the wood that I had in the last van. All right, the next step is to put the vinyl on the floor. We are so close to done at this point, and this time I lashed out on the vinyl. I actually spent $200 on vinyl. I got like a top quality one, and I can feel the difference. It is got some padding on it, and does feel nice under your feet. You can feel the padding, and hopefully it will last. Look, the other one lasted. So I did spend $200 on just the vinyl for the floor, and basically it's just one piece. We put it down, and I use liquid nails to glue it down. It's not what they recommend, but I'm not using it in a house or anything. Mostly it has furniture on it. Yeah, liquid nails it down, make some cuts. It's quite challenging. It's not perfect, but then you just cover it up with furniture and you can't see all the little bits. The next stage was to get the bed frame in. Now, did have to recruit my sister for this. The bed frame is very heavy, and it was a bit too much for both just Faye and I. So we got my sister to come and help us very early in the morning before the day got too hot, and ended up having to cut 4 centimeters off the bed. So we put the bed in, I tried the furniture in to see how it was gonna fit. I was umming and ahhing about what to do, but I thought, I'll start with this because I can always cut more, I can't add more. So we cut off 4 centimeters, and I'm really, really happy with how it fits. I managed to get a new set of drawers in the back, and they fit perfectly, and this still fits here. So yeah, so the next thing was just to put the bed frame in, and the bed frame is screwed down with angle brackets to the floor. I also, from my last van, salvaged my wheel arch cover, because I gotta tell you, I would never be able to make another one of those again. It's held together with screws. It's good, but I couldn't do it again. And it's a bit like one of those puzzles, I don't know, like those puzzles to put together, because some places I could put screws and some I couldn't. But anyway, I did have it, I did put it back in, and it fit perfect. The next step was to start screwing in cabinets. So I screwed in this cabinet. I got a new drawer for here. I bought a new 5-drawer cabinet. I bought a new cabinet. It is a little bit narrower, so it fits better. And the other one had started to crack from sun damage, but that other one was about 15 years old. I had it in my house before. And I also bought another 3-drawer. So any of you that were here 18 months ago, I did a slight remodel on my van. I changed out what I had used for food, and I got the shoe cabinets from IKEA for my food, which I was really happy with. They didn't fit anymore. So they've been donated to Faye. Faye now has shoes in the shoe cabinets, but I found this perfect 3-drawer, plastic 3 drawers in Kmart for $35. It fits the space perfect. I am so happy with it. You'd think it was made for it. That's working out really well, and that has my food in it. So I had to get one of those. It worked out really well. I was able to screw a piece of plywood on the top and get a lot of sketchbooks and my art supplies on there. So I'm really happy with how that's turned out. I reattached my paints in my drawers. I'm really happy with how the back end has turned out. I'm still working on this bit. Like I said, I'm going back to the city this week, and I'm going to be looking at some baskets and things to get this bit more organized. I'm not 100% happy with how that's going. That is how I got back in the van. I had taken off the book bags. Once you start screwing all this stuff in, my Ontario license plate, because if you're wondering, I am from Canada. That's why I have a weird accent. I'm from Canada, but I spent a lot of time in Australia, and my brain just, that's how I talk. It's not intentional. I know it comes and goes. But yeah, once I start putting everything in, it starts to really feel like home again. I'm looking forward to getting the ceiling finished and this more prettied up a bit, the decorating, but I'm happy to wait and do it as I feel I want to do it. That's what I did with the last one. I started pretty bare. So yeah, I'm making sure, think about how I want to do things. I don't have hooks for the lights yet, so they're just kind of hanging around. But look, I'm very happy to be back in the van. The build was very challenging for 2 reasons. First of all, the weather, the heat just kills you. It's so exhausting. On the 5 days that we did go crazy, it was cool, we got so much done, and we woke up the next day feeling good. So the heat was the biggest problem, and also just I really wanted to get it done. I was 3 months staying at Faye's house, and I really needed to get back out into the nature and into my van. So the next video will be all about my first week in the van. I'll share that with you. And I have a lot of people asking about how Abby is doing. I've taken a few clips for you. Abby is doing really, really well. It also took her a little while to adjust back to living in the van, but she's loving it. She's loving being out in nature, meeting lots of different people, different dogs, having lots of grass to roll on and play in. So yeah, we are both doing really well. Thank you so much everyone for all your support. If you're still here at the end of the video, thank you very, very much. I really appreciate you. And I will see you on the next one. Hopefully it won't be too long. Today we're heading for a really hot day of like 36 degrees Celsius. So I want to get this done early, so I'll be locking the van up and getting the air conditioner out and I can edit and get the video up for you. Thank you for your patience again. I really needed some time to recover. I was absolutely exhausted by the time we finished. Anyway, I will see you on the next one. Bye.